There was a lot of dead flies on the windowsill. That was it. I was a vegetarian for like the next 20 years.
So you were foraging for mushrooms.
Well,
Is that where the chaga is?
I remember foraging for ones that made you high.
Oh, really? You could find those out there.
Yes.
Frozen thing of it, I'll either get beef or venison, and then I'll take that out and I'll just crack off a couple pieces, let it thaw for an hour or two, and then I'll just wash it down like I'm taking a bunch of pills all at once. And it's the only supplement that I take that really makes me feel something. I'm interested in kind of going back to your origin story a little bit. What was growing up like for you? Who are you as a kid? And what was your interaction with like plants and food at that stage of life?
So it's funny because when you really start to think back, especially now that I'm 49, when I really start to think back.
Wouldn't have guessed.
I bet, thanks.
Yeah, truly.
When I think back, I can start to find the connections a lot younger than I thought they were there. I grew up in Arizona, and just normal like 80s upbringing. It's funny because normal 80s upbringing, I guess, just normal middle class, like, mom and dad, little house. We were on this trip one time and we were going to California. We always drove like the little road trip out to Disneyland. And we stopped in Blythe, California. I'll have to ask my mom. I'll bet I was 7 or 8. And we stopped at Burger King because that's what you do. And there were the Thanksgiving before, I learned that the turkeys that like I saw on TV were the same turkeys that we eat for Thanksgiving. So it's probably like 6, 7. I don't know. I was a little bit grossed out. Then I go back to this Burger King we stopped at, and I got a hamburger, and I sat down, and I haven't told this story in so long. There was a lot of dead flies on the windowsill. That was it. I was a vegetarian for like the next 20 years.
Oh, really?
Yes, I know you weren't expecting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was like this connection just a few months before between like animals, and I'm not anymore. So I'm not like, this is my high horse, but it's my food journey.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I saw that, or I made that connection, and then right after that, there was something about the flies and the meat and thinking about the cows and all that connection, and I was like, I don't want to eat meat anymore. And this is mid-80s Phoenix, Arizona. Mid-80s anywhere to be a vegetarian was probably difficult. Maybe Berkeley, I don't know. but yeah, so then I grew up eating grilled cheese, hamburger, no hamburger, like anything, just basic, like not great food.
What'd your parents think of that? They're like, oh, we got to make something special for Casey, or
They were
no
like,
big deal?
okay, yeah, it was no big deal. They were like, she doesn't eat meat.
Did you know anyone else that was vegetarian?
No.
Yeah.
Nope. That was the weird one. So yeah, that's where it all started.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would try to make, like, I remember making cheese enchiladas when I was young. So I would try to make stuff to make up to find things, but I wasn't like into vegetables. And I mean, I lived in Arizona, so at least there was a lot of bean burritos around.
That's what I tried vegetarian for a little bit. It was a lot of bean burritos. Mm-hmm. Or if I ever, some years ago, I would go to Taco Bell, just drive, and I would bean burrito.
That's what I lived through high school.
Mm-hmm.
Taco Bell bean burrito.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that funny?
And how was your energy then as a vegetarian? What did you think that did for your health?
That was kind of the transition. So I no meat or vegetarian, and then went vegan for probably 5 years. After I got older, that was probably when I was 18, and started to grasp that there was a co-op. It was still not close to my house. It was a 45-minute drive. But when I got to the age where I realized there were options besides just bread and cheese, then I became vegan, and I got really into this kind of all the things, all the nut milks, and like just kind of starting to use all that stuff. And I remember we like discovered quinoa, so that was like my discovery into all the kind of that plant-based food. Mm-hmm. My energy level was fine, but I wasn't doing a lot of stuff. Like I wasn't as active as I was by the time I moved to Boulder. Mm-hmm. So by the time I moved, I moved to Washington State at that point. Washington State was way easier, and it was like a heaven when I got there, because there was it's called the Pacific something Marketplace. It was just all co-ops, mm-hmm. and everybody was really in touch. It was the polar opposite of Phoenix. In Phoenix, have you been there?
Phoenix, Arizona, no.
Have you been to Washington State, anywhere there, or Pacific Northwest or anything?
Just Seattle. Does
Okay.
that count?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
So I felt like there was such this big difference. Like in Phoenix, there's no natural water. Like we get all of our water from here. There's a bunch of golf courses that are fed by the water from here. Everything's pavement. Beautiful. That is the most beautiful desert in the world to me. But when I moved to Washington, there was this huge realization for me that there's the connection between where you live and your food source. So in Phoenix, everything is shipped in. Nothing is really there. I'm not even sure what the commodity, I mean, I don't know what they do there. Maybe wheat. But there's not like I didn't grow up understanding like the story of food and where it came from. And then I moved to Washington and I had friends that went salmon fishing for dinner and foraged mushrooms and went to Alaska for their summer job to fish. So yeah, it was interesting, like thinking back, thinking back like that. There was such this dichotomy, like depending on where is that the right word? Depending on like where you grew up. And when I moved there, I realized the more of the connection between like your environment and your food, where in growing up somewhere like Phoenix, it was just like, it just showed up. I didn't know where from.
Yeah, and you were learning through the co-ops. They were kind of showing you, they were educating you in the store. Was there?
No, in Arizona, no, not at all. In Washington, it was more like a way of life. Like it was just ingrained in people. Like you don't use the water because if you use all the water, we might run out. And Phoenix, like everything was just shipped in and given to us. It was like a fake city.
Yeah.
And so it was this, it was pretty cool to learn when I moved up there that, yeah, there is like a natural chain of existence that I didn't know growing up down there. And even, I mean, I imagine even if you're growing up in the South or something, like you still, your family's hunting. Like we just none of that existed in Arizona. But I still somehow found a connection to food, or maybe lack of connection, which maybe that's what drove me to more of a connection.
So this was kind of like college years?
Yeah, I left Arizona when I was 18, like the day after I graduated high school. And then I moved to Washington. I moved actually to Telluride for a few months. And I worked at a popcorn stand late at night, so I was always in food. But I wanted to be around food, and I made like fried rice. It was like this little stand. It was food, like what a food cart is.
Yeah.
Like kind of like the hot dog cart down on Pearl. And it was like for all the drunk people late at night, and I would make fried rice. And
how'd you find your way there?
It was some woman's stand, and she was hiring, and I was 18.
And what brought you to Telluride?
Oh, my brother, who's just a little bit older than me, left a few months before, or maybe even weeks, to go up there to get. I think both of us were raised somewhere we didn't feel like we fit in.
Yeah.
But you don't know it when that's happening.
Was that your first connection into Colorado?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so from a few months in Telluride, then you went out to Washington.
Then I met some people in Telluride, and they were like, you should come to Washington, because I snowboarded. And so I moved up to Mount Baker in almost the Canadian border, which was the polar opposite of Arizona. I mean, I don't know how much rain. I mean, every day. Like everything's molding, everything is, And so then I lived there for 5 years.
What's the nature like out there?
Oh my gosh. It's like the lushest, like, I mean, everything. There's like greens growing on like greens and ferns, and then there's greens growing on the ferns, and then the trees have trees growing on the trees.
Wow.
Like it's amazing. And the canopies of trees, and they're tall, and I love it up there. People don't stay because they can't deal without the sun, and I was probably one of them.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I grew up in Chicago, and we have no sun during the winter, and it's like seasonal depression is real.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things about living here in Colorado. We get so much sun. I think like over 300 days a year.
Yeah. Yeah, this was the perfect medium. It's like, it's not Arizona, it's not Washington.
Now, were you starting to get connected to food more when you were in Washington? Was there any foraging? Was there anybody kind of like...
I was young, but we still did stuff like that. I mean, I remember like going out and finding like mushrooms and making tea, and like, just like these, I'm in my, 18 to 23, I was there. So it was just like, cooking and potlucks and a lot of discovering food and doing fasts and like, just this big discovery phase for me for food. Like a lot of kids are discovering ramen at that age,
Yeah,
you know, if
that was
they're in
me for
college.
sure.
Yeah. And so, yeah,
Food was just food. I didn't know where it came from for a long time.
yeah.
And it's just like, oh, it's just fuel, and I don't know anything about it. And
Yep.
and calories are calories, and
Yeah.
hmm
Yep. So yeah, that was definitely a big switch up there.
So you were foraging for mushrooms.
Sometimes.
And do you remember what types that you were finding out there?
Well,
Is that where the chaga
I
is?
remember foraging for ones that made you high.
Oh, really? You could find those out
Totally,
there.
yes.
And then how would you know? I've heard that when you cut them open, they turn blue.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that. I mean,
Yeah.
this was they're almost 30 years ago now. Yeah.
I've
And then
never
we
gotten
would,
the chance to do it. I would love to
yeah,
do it, but that's what I hear. It's like you got to cut it open and it turns blue.
and we just steep it in tea, so it wasn't like crazy. Like
Yeah.
you just, I mean, you could drink it right now and be, you're like, oh,
Yeah, it just felt
yeah,
good.
yep.
Was that your first experience with with mushrooms in that kind of a way?
I'm trying to remember.
Because what I'm wondering is, did that shift you in any kind of way? Did that open you up in any kind of a
No,
way?
no, I think I ate mushrooms before that, like at a Grateful Dead show.
Yeah.
That probably opened me up.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, kids, if you're listening, my kids in particular, don't listen to your mother.
Yeah. Well, my first experience I'm 39, and my first experience I grew up very conservative Christian, and everything was like the devil, poison,
Oh,
heroin,
whoa.
except for alcohol. It's like go
Isn't that
nuts on
funny?
alcohol, which is like the worst one, really, the worst for our society
Yeah.
for sure. And it's like, hey, yeah, you can drink yourself, like dead, and it's like, yeah, that's
Isn't
no
that
problem.
so
But everything else is like the devil. And then I moved to California,
Oh,
to the Bay Area. I used to be in software sales.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, I can get a medical marijuana card, and I can go to like a doctor, and it's going to be okay because and I tried it, and it just blew my mind. I'm like, and I was 27 at the time. I'm like, what the heck is this? This is way better than alcohol. And then discovered some more,
Yeah.
more just opening plants from there, and then that's what
Totally.
really brought me down this plant route.
Oh,
I was
cool.
like, whoa, plants are really powerful. I had no idea. I'm like, I need to be a voice for these plants. I need to help people connect with these plants and to spread these plants. So that's what I feel like part of my
that's
mission
really cool.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's a lot of power in plants.
There is a lot of power in
Yeah.
plants, and just going back to the ones that the psilocybin
Yeah.
type, you were just having tea. Did you find that shifted you, or made just a little bit sound that
Yeah.
you were having just easiher to connect with yourself, with nature, with
yeah.
other people? What were some of the benefits that you were experiencing
Yeah.
at that
I would
age?
say, yeah, like it just, at that age, at that age, and probably overdoing it at times in the past, like the way you do, you're like, I'm at a concert, woo. And then learning even then, like, oh, just a little bit can just it's like a vitamin,
Mm-hmm.
and like, oh, like I'm brighter today and I
Mhm.
feel, more open and not as stressed and less
Mhm.
anxiety and all the things. And it was just getting back to like what food is. It was fun because we were all doing it together.
Yeah.
So then we've got this communal thing that we're doing, and it brings everybody again back together.
Mm.
So yeah.
If you were to give someone advice or yourself advice back then on a first time, because I think there's a lot of people that have not had any type of an experience like that.
Yeah.
Is there a first time experience? Is it at a concert and a handful? Is it with friends or by yourself, and just start with a very small amount in like a tea? What do you think your first time is?
I kind of like the small. I mean, I guess it depends on your personality,
Mhm.
but I think definitely being outdoors, hike, friend or friends at a light amount, just to see like how it works, because sometimes also people don't like that feeling.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. Not
No.
everything's for everyone, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a low and slow. I've heard
Yeah.
it described as like a handshake. Hey, I
Yeah.
just want a little bit just to get to know you. I don't need to have
Totally.
some big experience my first time, but let me be in like a safe spot where
Yeah.
I've got all the things that I need. I'm not out in public where
Yeah.
maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm like, whoa, this is. I'm not sure how to handle this energy, and I actually had a
Yeah.
little bit more than I thought. It's like just really light and
Yeah.
slow.
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
the same. I mean, it's the same thing, with, we were just talking about like alcohol, when people don't know what they're doing when they're 16, 15, 14, and they just
Mhm.
like drink a handle.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Been
like,
there.
whoa,
Yeah,
yes,
it's
me
like, oh, now
too.
I'm like throwing up, and I'm like, what am I doing? Now,
That's, yeah. But even with my kids, I'm like, yeah, you're whatever, you're 15, 16 now. Like, you want a glass of wine with Thanksgiving? Like, I try not to make anything, everything is moderation. Not everything, but like, just like the education piece behind it is so important, I feel like. And it's the same for psilocybin and any sort of plant.
Now, in your cooking, are there any ingredients that you make sure are not involved in the process? Is there anything that is there's a lot of things getting vilified, I think, rightfully so. There's a lot of education coming out about different types of oils in particular.
Yeah.
Things like that that are very similar, have a very similar reaction to the body as alcohol. So when we consume alcohol, like all metabolic processes stop, meaning the growing, healing, resting, that all stops. And the body's like, we have to 100% of our energy and effort is to getting this poison out. Nothing else is happening. Same thing with seed oils, vegetable oils. It's poison, it's inflammatory. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Is that something that you educate with your classes or?
We do mostly olive oil, and we just always have.
Yeah.
I always have. Yeah. And there's a lot of coconut oil for high heat stuff. I feel like there's so much trends and stuff to follow. And if, just sticking to that, like the basics sometimes is so easy because you're just like, this has been around forever.
Yeah.
We can use a lot of people don't understand you can use it for everything. Like, I wouldn't deep fry in it, but
what would you deep fry in? I've never deep fried. What's a healthy way to tallow?
You could definitely do it in tallow. I'm not sure how that would be really rich, but
I've heard of tallow fries.
Yeah, those are so good.
Those are so good.
Oh my God. Now I'm like hungry. But you could do it in coconut oil.
Okay.
But again, I don't fry much either. And we don't fry.
Neither do I.
We don't fry even at Food Lab that much because it's just a lot.
Sounds like a mess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot. And then I think, frying is definitely something that, like, if I'm out, I'm going to get something. Like, like that's where to get your fried food. Like, I'm going to get French fries with that. And then, so yeah, I think olive oil is pretty safe. We use a lot of toasted sesame oils and for like dressings and stuff. Or I do at home.
And did any of those recipes start to show up at that when you're out in Washington, you're in your late teens, and what did cooking look like for you then? What did the cooking evolution, how did that start to show up?
I was definitely getting really into kind of all the plant-based stuff and seeds and nuts and all the different types of grains, like all the stuff that in the late 90s, not everybody used them. I feel like it's come so far now. And then I had decided when I lived there that I wanted to one day, actually, I did this cleanse, and the cleanse was an alkaline forming cleanse. And basically what was it called? It's called a Rise and Shine. And I think it was 30 days, and you could only eat alkaline forming foods. And
what's an example of that? Is that like lemon?
Lemon is alkaline forming. Grapefruit, millet.
And what's the benefit of this? It's rebalancing your pH in a good way?
Yeah. It rebalances your pH. It's supposed to clean your gut. This was so long ago, and I think my brother did it, and so I did it. He took
For 30
some
days.
psyllium. Yeah.
Nice.
During that time, I had this moment where I was like, I don't think there's a thing. I have a problem where I'm always like, I don't think this exists, and then I decide to go do it or try to find it. It's to this day. And I was like, I don't think there's really a lot of vegetarian chefs. I'm going to become one. And so I went down to it was a town. Have you been up to Ward?
Yes.
The town I lived at was as big as Ward.
Oh, wow.
And it was right at the base of Mount Baker. So all we did was go snowboarding. And I went to the little dial-up. This is in 1999. There's a one computer in the post office where you had to pick up your mail. And I Googled vegetarian culinary schools, and one came up in Boulder and one came up in New York City.
Oh, what school's here?
It's called the School of Natural Cookery.
Okay. Still around?
She does all online stuff now.
Okay.
And yeah, and Boulder was on the map because of Naropa and Ginsburg and Kerouac and that from my later years of high school. And I was like, I'm going to go to Boulder and go to this vegetarian culinary school, and I'm going to people are going to learn how to eat vegetarian food that's not, a marinated portobello mushroom.
And what were some of the eye-opening experiences there?
Oh, I don't know. A lot of it was the school. A lot of it was just being in Boulder. Like I moved here my whole life. I started mountain biking and running and like just, the total Boulder lifestyle thing. We learned a lot. That was when I actually started to learn about how to actually properly cook all these things and make all these beautiful meals and out of these. It's funny talking about it now because at the time it was so, you're like, "Oh, what's tamari? What's amaranth? What's tahini?" But I learned all that. And then I became a personal chef. And so I was personal chefing for people. I mean, I would show up and they were like, yeah, I can't eat gluten, dairy, soy, wheat. I mean, this whole thing. And then I would have to create their week's worth of meals without any their allergens.
Hey, I just wanted to jump in here and give a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's podcast, B Micro, the easiest way to sneak vegetables into any meal. Due to soil depletion, GMOs, and monocropping, Americans are not getting enough nutrients. So in 2018, I founded B Micro, the first freeze-dried microgreens company in the US to help Americans get more concentrated natural nutrients into their diet. Microgreens are a phase in the plant's life when they're 14 days old and naturally the most concentrated in vitamins, minerals, nutrients, all the good things that we need. Our microgreens are grown here in the US in soil in a greenhouse. They're certified USDA organic and regenerative organic. We grow, wash, and freeze dry them to extend their 1 week shelf life to over 1 year, allowing us to ship anywhere in the US without the worry of spoilage. We have 2 flavors, broccoli, backed by over 2,000 studies on sulforaphane and its powerful detox benefits, and a blend of red cabbage, radish, and broccoli, the most potent detox formula we've tested, offering you the most bang for your buck. Easily sneak these microgreens in any meal. Eggs, smoothies, pizza, pasta, even your kids' mac and cheese, you can't even taste it. Use code STEVE15 to save at bmicro.farm.
Do you have a theory around allergens? You're helping a lot of people learn to cook. What would you say the state of allergens is today? Any theory on why that is?
I think there's a fine line between allergens and trends. So sometimes those are hard to decipher.
Sure. Like gluten-free.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
because
are you
you need
or
to
aren't
or
you?
you just want to. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, for me, I know it's inflammatory. I'm not celiac and I'll still eat it, but I know that
Same. Just limit.
Yeah, just limit it.
And try to just get really good quality.
Yeah, better quality. Sometimes our country's not great at quality ingredients in general. And then, but I do think that, and I think a lot of times allergens are created from the way the food is being farmed. And, so it's not the allergy to what it is. It's probably something
like
that
the
we're
glyphosate
using.
that's sprayed all over the wheat. It's like, well, that's poison.
Yeah.
What's that do to us?
Yeah, so there's definitely all these different things, but I want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable. We're not an allergen-free kitchen. We're not a commissary, and so we make that clear, especially for the kids and for like the nut stuff, because that scares me, because nut allergies are whole different. Like people, you could get really sick, and even worse if you have a nut, if you have like a peanut, you're not
That's
supposed
wild.
to. Yeah, so.
Does that show up in the space often? Do people come in and say like, "Hey, I've got a nut allergy," or do you have any insight into
We
what
do
people
no
are dealing
nuts for
with?
the kids' classes.
Okay.
And I guess this probably comes from school and just years of cooking, but in all of our recipes, and even if we have like a little appetizer, charcuterie board, like my big thing is no hidden allergens, like no nut crackers. Like I've gone, like sometimes I don't do well with nuts, and I'll get something at like the coffee shop that's like sometimes I'll get like a gluten-free something, and I
Like
take a bite.
peanuts or all types?
A lot of nuts, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not allergic, just they're not great for me.
What happens? Just doesn't feel good in the
Terrible.
body?
I can tell immediately.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Now, peanuts I try to stay away from because they're a rotation crop with cotton. Cotton is the most heavily pesticided crop in
didn't know
in the
that.
country. So that's why even organic peanuts, it's kind of tricky because they're sharing this ground with cotton.
I did not
And the
know
cotton
that.
is
That's
just
wild.
poison. Yeah. Even in our clothes, like having non-organic cotton clothes can be a real issue. It's probably better than having plastic clothes, but yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, it's really, it's pretty interesting, like how big everything's gotten and sometimes it's overwhelming because you're just like, well, I can't do anything. Like I'm going to eat it or,
Yeah.
like, and then you're like, oh, if I just had all of this in my backyard, how different I would feel.
Yeah. Are you growing things today? Do you have a garden or is that?
I've got a beautiful space for a garden,
Mm.
and I just don't have the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a lot of time.
Yeah, every year. I think this year I'm actually going to talk to myself about it in a clear way and maybe just do flowers, because every year I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. And then by August, it's like another stress factor. I'm like, oh, this is going on over here, but all that's dying, or I need to weed that. And yeah, I need a balance there.
Yeah. I find that to be one of the most meditative things that I do is just go kind of like putz around in the garden. And now I've got several bird feeders and bird bass and just like to attract
do?
them. Yeah. Love that.
What? Okay, so we just got a bird feeder with I got with a camera, but the squirrels are eating.
Okay. I don't have that issue by me.
You don't?
I'm up the hill a little bit and I'm kind of like in a little bit of a solo spot, not like right next to where squirrels don't really come around.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know what to do about the squirrels, but there are squirrel-proof bird feeders. I had one of those when
Did
I
you?
first moved there. I was like, oh, all these squirrels are gonna, but no squirrels ever show
No squirrels.
up. Yeah.
I had the one seed, and it was, I guess they put like a little bit of cayenne on it.
Oh, okay.
I got it at McGuckin's. It
They're
was
just like
for
a little spicy.
yeah, and it worked. I got it from my boyfriend for Christmas, and it has a camera
Yeah.
in it, and so it was actually really funny because I was really excited. It's something that he didn't ask for, and probably never in a million years would have bought. And I was like, of course, I saw it like come across Instagram, and I was like, Matt would love this, even though he doesn't know it, because it like the birds show up, and then it pops up on your phone what kind of bird it is.
Fun. Oh, what it tells you what kind it is? That's slick.
And and so I got it for him, and it shows. I got it on Amazon, which I shouldn't have, but it shows up in December, like right before Christmas, in its box. So he goes out and picks it up,
Oh.
and it's just like this picture.
It's very cute.
And I was like, "Oh, your Christmas present was ruined." And he's like, "You got me a bird feeder?" But now he's obsessed.
Cool.
And so the first I just went to McGuckin's, and I was like, I need seed for the bird feeder. And so I told him, I said, I got it. It was squirrel free, whatever. And whatever. So then it runs out. That was in December. We had some birds. Springtime comes. He goes to the specialty bird store, and he gets like fancy seed.
Oh yeah, he loves the birds now.
Well,
I'm with
the
them.
squirrels,
Oh.
they're
going wild with
yep.
that.
And so last 2 nights ago, there was a picture of a raccoon, but it was like cereal. The raccoon got in there. And so it's like it looks like a bear because he was so close to the camera. And he's taking his little hands and just woke up and all the seed was gone.
Yep,
so
got it all.
We'll figure it out.
I've put a bird feeder with suction cups on my window for my room.
Oh, that's cool.
And nothing can get to that. There's
Well,
no
that's a good
squirrel.
idea.
And then it's right there. You could be like 2 feet
you
away
can
from it if
watch
you
it.
move. It's like, that's wild. Those are just, $20.
Oh, that's a good
Recommend
idea.
one of those.
That's yeah. I can see a lot of bird feeders in our backyard.
What's the coolest bird that has come across so far?
Well, sometimes when he's not home, I walk up to it. So then it
It triggers.
triggers it. Like, I saw you do that. I'll be like, I don't know. He knows all the names. I know there's a lot of chickadees.
Yeah.
And that was, I feel like, all through the winter. Something about a chickadee that I don't really know. He likes it.
They love the bird feeders. We get a bluebird that's and the way that they move through the trees and they'll just hop up and they're so athletic. They're the biggest of the birds too. And then sometimes all those little chickadees that come around attract the hawks.
Oh.
And it's like, that's kind of crazy, but the hawks are the best.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the hawks are really cool. And they come through and they're bosses and everybody freaks out. And it's like, they're very special. It's like a blessing when the hawks come through.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I'll have to tell them to look out for the hawks.
Bring the hawks in. I don't know how to attract them, but I just keep the squirrels around.
I was going to say maybe they'll scare the squirrels.
So you're thinking maybe some flowers. Have you ever tried growing any types of herbs or vegetables?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Oh, big dreams every year.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the problem. Maybe I should just do one thing because I get really excited and I'm like, okay, because I start seeing the seeds as meals, and I'm like, okay, we're doing beets, I'm more of a creative than somebody that has attention to detail. So
Same.
It's super difficult for me because I know if I just stopped and slowed down and paid attention and knew how to, I'm like, what month are these supposed to go? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
The
Right
beets
now
will
is
come
great.
up.
Yeah,
Yes.
it'll figure itself out.
Yes. And so I wound up last year, I found like choke cherries. I went out to Harlequin's, found choke cherries. there's something else super. I like doing tomatillos a lot.
Is that a pepper?
It's a tomato, or it's it's not a tomato. It looks like a tomato. It's husked. You ever have green salsa?
Yeah.
That's probably a tomatillo.
Oh, really?
It doesn't have to be, but yeah, and they're husked, and then you peel their husks off, and it's like kind of sticky, so you have to like wash them off. I throw them on the sheet pan with like onion, garlic, some jalapenos, salt, oil, and then you just roast it all and then blend it. Toss in some cilantro and lime, and you've got like a really good salsa verde.
Oh, beautiful.
But yeah.
Love the idea of the flowers. I've done a lot of wildflowers as well. Mostly the main motivation is to support the bees.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, this seems helpful to the bees. And then it's just so beautiful to have around.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I might do that in one of the boxes. But now I'm like, well, maybe I should do a salsa box. Because that's
a good idea.
You know, it's like
they just need a lot of water, and it's easy to build in some automation.
We have it. It's automated already.
Oh, beautiful.
No, I mean, yeah, it's there.
Oh, okay.
I just need to focus.
Maybe go to what helps me is I go to the farmer's market and I just get some.
Yep.
Because it's such like a beautiful dream for me to start something from seed.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, actually the first 2, 3, 4 weeks is really tough to get it to go good, but you get it at the farmer's market, it's going to be so good.
And that's what's
it's already
in season.
ready to go.
That's what you know you can plant. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
they know exactly. It just started. It's only a couple of bucks. That's a really nice way to start.
That's true. I get overexcited about it. I'm like, yes.
What do you think your kids would think of it? Have they been involved with the garden or?
Yep, they love it. They like. It's funny because my son's a really picky eater, but he always used to like going out to harvest everything. Like he'd be like, I want to pick all the tomatoes. I want to do this, and then he didn't really care to eat it. And my daughter eats everything.
Oh, so your son, he's a picky eater. He enjoys harvesting it, but that doesn't inspire him in any way to eat it.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Which is really funny because even through all of like our kids' camps in food lab and everything, like I have noticed that once they understand where the food came from, they'll eat it. My son is like, I'm still good. It's still a weird mushy tomato.
Yeah, is it a texture thing?
Yes, he has a texture thing, I think. Well, no, he says he does, and then he does have like really he could be like a Somm or something. He does have a really powerful palate. I hope he's not listening because he's gonna, if he hears this, he'll be like, I told you I did. But he could taste so one of the things that he gets really picky about, and one of the things he eats is Annie's mac and cheese. And one day I was at Costco and they had the organic ones and it was like $6, it's Costco. So like I get the Annie's mac and cheese and then I make it and he's eating it. And he's like, this tastes different. I'm like, it's Annie's mac and cheese. And he's like, is it organic? And I was like, yeah, but it's the same thing. And he's like, no, it's not. So then we did a taste test like the next day and a blind taste test and he knew exactly what was what. So I do think that sometimes he's picky, but he also maybe has like really strong taste buds that will be of good use one day. I've been like, you should be like one of those people, like what are they called? The perfume people, and they get their nose is like insured for like millions because they smell for like the top perfume places in France or whatever, or a Somm, or like some sort of. He's a super taster.
You can do that. You could do that with many things. Peter Jones, who's the owner of Trident, maybe you've met him before, but he is that for tea and coffee.
Oh, okay.
And he's a judge that travels all around the world, judging these
that's
mostly
awesome.
coffees. But yeah, he's got that whatever the Somm of coffee is. He's done that.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's tons of things.
There's probably that for like olive oil. There's probably that for everything. Chocolate.
Yeah, that was a good path.
So you find that your kid students that get more connected into the plant. What does more connected look like? How do you help them see the full story?
I think kids just fed whatever's on the plate without seeing where it came from. And I'm not saying even from the garden. I mean, that would be another step. And I think in Boulder, we're pretty lucky. A lot of the schools do field trips and growing gardens is amazing. And a lot of people do have gardens. But even the fact that a kid can see what, like we were talking about, like the
raw vegetable before it's chopped.
And basil, pesto is like one of my favorite examples because kids it's green and it's weird and they don't like it. And then you're like, oh, it's basil. And they're like, oh, I love basil. And they're like, I have Parmesan. I love Parmesan. We use pumpkin seeds for it, not because we don't use nuts in the kids' class, but like pumpkin seeds, oil. And they're like, oh, I like all of this.
Yeah.
So then they try the basil and they all actually get to make it too. So there's an added, not experience, but a value to it. They're excited. They made it. And then they want their parents to try it and their brother or sister. And then I think it also helps that there's other kids in class trying it and eating it. And so we're always like, you have to try it. We don't have to, but like that's our encouragement. Like you don't have to eat it, but at least try it. And half the time the kids are like, whoa, I didn't know I liked that. And so it helps them understand that that's, it's not just a mushy thing on your plate. It actually came from something that somebody created or that they created. They chopped and they sauteed. And so it's like a little art project for them that they get to eat. And then it just helps them, I think.
So if you were to have a recommendation to any parents listening of picky eaters, what's there for you?
I think for us, it was like just trying everything. Like, at least you have to try it. I wasn't a big forcer on my kids just because I was too tired to force them. I was like, fine, here's your Annie's mac and cheese. But, we figured out things like my son doesn't like cooked vegetables. Like, he just doesn't. And I'm not in super disagreement with him depending on how they're cooked. I just, instead of like stressing myself out and trying to make him eat sauteed broccoli. Like his vegetables are almost always raw broccoli, raw carrots, raw peppers. And it's good. It's just as good for you, if not better, half the time.
I would think sometimes better because high heat for a long period of time can burn off a lot of the good things.
And so it's like...
And maybe even open up some things, but for the most part, I think raw, from a vitamin and mineral standpoint, is better.
Totally. So that's what, I'm like, you just got to figure out the little things that they'll eat and then, continually introduce them to different things. But there's some stubborn eaters out there. Mm-hmm. So
where do you think that comes from? What's that about? They just get a real taste for a certain thing growing up, or like they get into the processed food kind of lane too early? And
I don't know, because both my kids were raised exactly alike. And my daughter, doesn't matter what it is, blood sausage, great. Crickets, ooh, like she's, whatever it is, she will try it and eat it. And I think one time, it was like last summer, she's like, the only thing I don't like is Noon. Those
electrolyte tablets? Oh, okay.
I was like, what do you mean? Like, the only thing you ever tasted that you didn't like was this random benign electrolyte tablet?
Yeah.
It was such this, but I was like, she's probably right. Like, she eats everything. Mm-hmm. And she'll try it all, and she'll just like go into the fridge and just eat.
How is she with processed food and sugar and things that aren't healthy?
That's funny. She's a big athlete. I think she can feel it, but she's still 18.
Yeah.
And it's even at both my kids, my son is almost 15, and they both know now, like he'll be like, like he knows how many grams of sugar and things, and like, I shouldn't do that. That has a lot of sugar. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean he's not going to do it, but he's got the knowledge of not doing it. And we're not like soda or, in the house, but go to the movie theater. He's like, I want a Slurpee and the popcorn. But I think just having that baseline of education, knowing like, it's not the best for you. And when he's big into soccer, so he knows like on his soccer game days, it's pretty interesting because he'll wake up, he's like, I want a smoothie and I want, and like, and
that
so
clean, good fuel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so he, I'm like, he knows. So even though maybe that's not every day, it's cool that he can make that connection.
And the sports inspire him to be healthier because he can compete more strongly and
feels better, and so that's pretty. I like that he's got that.
Has it come up in your cooking classes, any education around what a balanced diet is from a fat, carbs, protein, sugar? Any of those numbers ever come up for kids or adults?
No, I don't think we've done anything like that really.
Because on our nutrition labels in the U.S., it says what percentage of the daily value many of those things are: fat, carb, protein. What it doesn't say, though, is sugar. Sugar has been suppressed by the sugar lobby industry. So people don't know what is like what's like the limit on how much sugar you should have? And from my research, is 25 grams.
Yeah.
Over 25 grams a day starts to cause harm to the body. And there's many diseases that love sugar, that really prey on sugar,
Yeah.
like cancer. Like sugar and cancer go hand in hand. So I think it's a good number to let people know, is as you're going for that yogurt, that's 16 grams of sugar. It's like, okay, that was a good hit. I don't really count fruit too much. I think a lot of people count fruit, but I'm just like counting, I don't know, things that are packaged.
Yeah. I try to do too. We'll like do the Noosa and stuff, but I always like the yogurt I eat at home, plain, and then I put honey in it. Like I like to control that, so I'm not a big sweet person though. I'll eat chocolate chip cookies all day long. That's the one thing, homemade chocolate chip cookies. But I don't have this big sweet, dry. I think a lot of that's in nature for us too.
Yeah, like fruit is nature's candy.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're a healthy person, and I am as well. I've trained my body to run more on fat and protein, and to not crave, and so it craves those things versus craving the average American diet of sugar and carbs.
Yep.
So it's like my gut microbiome, like the things that my gut wants, is like, hey, give us that fuel, and it just works better for me.
Yeah, yep. I think a lot of people work better like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the sugar is just...
It's so addictive too.
It's so addictive, and it's so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's
we all know
levels
it.
of sugar too. There's like some sugar. There's like, I don't know, cane sugar where it's like, or beet sugar. It's like, all right, well, that's pretty natural. But then there's high fructose corn syrup where like, whoa, that is straight poison.
Oh yeah.
And it's everywhere.
And it's funny because if I, whatever, like midway through the day and I don't know, I'll have like a cookie or something, and all of a sudden it's like the rest of the day I'm like, I want another cookie. I want more sugar. Like it's this it's a very instant addiction. It's an addiction all across the board, but it's also very, if I don't have any sugar, I probably won't even think about it throughout the day. And then as soon as it's wild to me.
Me too. I can't bring sugar in the house. I have very little self-control around it. I'll only eat, if I bring in cookies, I'll only eat cookies until they're gone. I can't even bring them in.
Yeah, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we just don't usually have them. Or everybody will get some and hide them wherever they have them so the other person doesn't attack the other person's cookies.
What would you say the average health is of these kids coming in? Can you get a sense on how they're doing with their diets? Just trying to get a kind of a pulse on what's happening with kids today and with their knowledge around health, with their picky eater, with their just how they showing up.
I think in Boulder we're pretty, we forget.
We're in a bubble.
Yeah, we went. Have you been to Buc-ee's yet?
No, what's that?
My son had a soccer game up in Fort Collins, and they've opened this thing called Buc-ee's on I-25, and it started in Texas, and it's basically a gas station it's the biggest gas station you've ever seen. It's from Texas. It's the biggest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
So it's like all these pumps, and then you walk into the gas station, and it's like you can buy everything from baby clothes to pecan pralines. It almost reminded me of Disneyland kiosks in there. There's all sorts of fudge, and there's a whole brisket station where you can get brisket sandwiches. Wow. We went there maybe a month ago because we were on our way in from soccer. And of course, Nash saw it on TikTok because that's where they see everything. And he's like, there's a Buc-ee's. And we needed to eat. And I was like, that's fine. We can go. And I actually got a burrito and it was fine. Yeah. We weren't in Boulder. And I didn't even notice before he did. He was like, whoa. He's like, people look really unhealthy in here. And I was like, you live in a bubble.
Yeah.
If you go anywhere else, you'll notice.
This is one of the healthiest places in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just full of super athletes.
Super athletes and the things that, we think are so bad,
There's very high education, high wealth. People have access to basically whatever they want. Healthy.
They want to be healthy.
It's one of the draws for me being here.
So, yeah, and it's easy. But I think on that, to the kids, I think a lot of them are, on the healthier side, and they understand food a little bit, and, hopefully we help them understand it more, or their parents understand what healthy food is. I think for the most part, the kids they're fairly healthy in this town. And God, the way my kids are, they're playing soccer, they're always active. They're always doing things, and their friends are too. And I don't remember, we played outside and did stuff, but not like soccer practice every day. And it's just like this constant, who knows, maybe they're all going to be in therapy for that.
I don't know. I think the more nature that we're connected with, the better
Yeah.
we are. Like that's my ultimate therapy, is
Yeah.
going to nature. And we've got world-class nature for, as you said, skiing, snowboarding, mountain biking, hiking, camping. It's just world-class. People travel from all around the world just to experience the nature that we have right here.
It's amazing. So you get like, yeah, you don't leave.
Yeah.
So I love it.
So you've had a food lab for about 10 years. And what was that inspiration? So you found yourself out in Boulder for cooking classes. That when was Food Lab born not long after that, or?
No, it was, so I came here, did that program, and then I started personal chefing. So I was cooking, and I was still like waiting tables in restaurants, mountain biking, I was in my 20s, like just having fun. And then I actually wound up getting a stand at the farmer's market, and I sold burritos and beet salads. That was
Your own products?
Yeah.
What would you call it?
Oh my God, what was it called? It was, this was in the prepared foods. Like when you walked in, to eat lunch or breakfast. At the time that was called Simple Spoon. Yes, okay, I had to think because I had a few different names for my personal chefing companies throughout the years. And so I did that, and that was really difficult. So anytime you go to the farmer's market and see those people, just know that you're basically pulling like a mini restaurant out into that little courtyard every Saturday and Wednesday. And on Wednesdays it was so hot, and I had a flat top that I was cooking everything on. So I did that. And I was also personal chefing when I was doing that. And so I always stayed in food. Like I was always somewhere around food. Didn't ever want to be in a restaurant. And
what was the best part about doing the farmer's market? I'm coming from a spot of I've done over 200 farmers markets for my. So I'm
totally
like,
forgot that.
I have that soft spot for anybody at the farmers market, and it's just I've found so much community and so much magic shows up at the market. And you're getting real time feedback, and people show up, and you're like, oh, that's connection. Just so much magic shows up, and it's a huge effort.
It's a huge effort, but I think it was just the people that like it was fun to see the same people that would come back and be like, oh, I'm here for your sweet potato burrito, or like the people that you got to know, the vendors, all the vendors, and it was the community. Like it always comes down to, it was the community. It was the community aspect of it that was so great. But yeah.
What was your best seller then?
I think I only did two things. I did the sweet potato. It was a burrito with sweet potatoes, Swiss cheese, eggs. I don't even think there was meat in it. No, I don't think it had meat. And then a beet salad with beets and basil, and I think that's all I did. It was like that. It was like the burritos just flew in the morning, and then the beet salads. I can't believe I pulled that together. I'm more surprised I pulled that together than Food Lab.
Was that your real kind of first entrepreneurial goal?
Yeah.
Was okay, I'm personal chefing, and now I've got a brand name, and I'm out here.
And I have to get a business license, and I have to get health, and like that was the first personal chefing. You just it's still hard, but it's like you get a client, you go and you learn, you cook for them. And so with the farmer's market, it was, I had to fill out all the paperwork. I had to do the business side of it, as you know. Like, it's like you've got more to do legally, and that adds a whole other layer. And
especially for a visionary, someone who's more the idea person versus an integrator, executor,
Totally.
Someone's like, oh, I'll connect all these dots.
Yep.
Have you found that in your business today? Have you found that integrator? Have you found that?
Did you read Traction?
Yeah.
I was like, I heard your words.
Yeah.
Best book ever. Have you read Rocket Fuel?
Yes.
That book.
And so for the people listening, Traction is part of EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System. It's a great way to run a business, especially for medium, small businesses like ours. And then Traction is part of the EOS framework that helps founders understand what type of founder that they are. There's really two types. There's the visionary, which is like the Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, and then there is the integrator, more like the unsung kind of hero, because that's what they want. They want to be the behind the scenes support for that person that wants to be more on stage and has the vision and the passion. And that's like Steve Wozniak, or Walt Disney had his brother.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so very rarely is one person both of those things. Right. And so it's the book helps us to understand who we are. And there's a test at the beginning, and I was like maybe like an 85, 90 visionary. Do you remember about what how I was saying for you?
Oh yeah. But yeah, there was like, yeah, I was around there.
And
if
then
not
once
higher, yeah.
understanding that, it's like, oh, I need to get an integrator partner or teammate or something in that kind of a way. And then once those two come together, that's what they're calling rocket fuel. Because it's like, hey, you've got both the pieces that you need. Because there's a lot of traps as a really optimistic visionary. It's like, oh, I could run after 100 shiny objects and then I'm getting nowhere.
Yep. I could do that all day long.
And I just need help executing. I'm like, oh, I
Totally.
see the vision. I see what there is to do. I'm like, how do I put all the pieces together? And it's something, it would take me, I don't know, a week to fill out some of these spreadsheets. And we're an integrator. It's like, oh, it calms their anxiety. They can do it in an hour. And have you brought that person into your business?
Yeah, I think I have my marketing girl is way more like that. She's definitely still like she's got that visionary,
Cool.
aspect to her as well, and follows the brand. And it's an eye-opening book for people like us. Like I remember just reading Rocket Fuel, and I was like, I'm not crazy. I'm just a visionary, and I don't have to do it all. Yeah, like you just have to find that, and it's hard because we have a lot of ideas. And so it's like
ideas are fun.
Ideas are great.
It's my favorite thing. I love brainstorming.
Yeah. That to the point that somebody's like, remember you said you were going to do that? I was like, nope.
I'm on the next one. You can have that idea.
Totally. But anyway, I love hearing when you said integrator. I was like, yes.
The market, maybe just starting to build your business.
Oh yeah.
What were those early days of you're like, okay, now I'm starting to feel what it's like to become an entrepreneur in this natural products, food, health space.
Yeah.
What it kind of like looked like at that time, what you're just doing it all.
I was just doing it all. And and quickly realized, especially doing that, I'm like hiring like probably my brother or something to like help me for part of the day, and then got to the point where I was like, well, I need to be making enough money at these places that I don't need to be here. So what's the next thing? Like how do you go from, did you read the E-Myth? Oh, okay. That's another good one. But that whole book goes about like, how, are you creating yourself a job or a business?
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I don't want a job.
Yeah.
I can go get a job anywhere. And
I've felt that 100 times.
Leave.
I'm like, what am I? Sometimes I'm like, have I created myself a prison?
Yes, I feel like that today. I felt like that all day. No kidding.
But also very grateful. I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
But I'm like, whoa, this is hard, and that's the entrepreneurial path. I think a lot of people need to know. It is a path of tremendous just challenges.
Oh yeah.
It really makes you rise to the next level. It forces you to the next level.
Oh yeah.
And it's extremely humbling.
It really is. And there's like things that you're like, I don't have the bandwidth for. But actually, I have to do 7 times what I don't have the bandwidth for, and then you do it, and you're like, okay, well, I guess I did it. I'm still here. What's next?
Yeah, things don't get easier. I just get better at handling them.
Yeah.
And and it's like, I love connecting with other entrepreneurs because it's like, oh, you could do anything kind of a mindset. Like, oh, we could figure this out. There's just a great trust there because I'm like, oh, you've had to overcome so much just to even be in the game, just to stay in the game, let alone even be, very successful in the game.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a lot of roadblocks, or I don't know.
But it's a path committed to growth. That's part of it for me too.
Yeah, and that's just even when I talked to you the other day, and then the meeting I was at right before here, I'm opening the next food lab. It's just been so in it, and it's just like every second it seems like there's something else that comes up that has to be dealt with at the same time as something else that's equally as important, and it's impossible to prioritize because they all have to get done in the next 4 hours, like all these deadlines, and then I'm like, oh wait, hold on, I'm doing this all to open up this other food lab so people, like, I can continue doing what I'm doing down there.
Yeah.
Like I can continue doing the kids classes and having these people come and learn to cook and hang out and drink wine and eat food and have fun, not taking my eye off the prize when you get into those, like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And then in the middle of it, oh my God, it's tax season. Wait, hold on. You need all of my paperwork from what? And so, it all like, you just have to always remember, and that's hard when you're in it, you're like, oh wait, this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for the big picture. I'm not doing it.
Does it ever show up like, and I'm looking at who I'm building myself to be and who I'm becoming in this? That's something I listen to a lot of biographies,
Okay.
and people at kind of at end of life saying, hey, it's not about all the businesses that I built. That was great. A big part of the business building is it's forcing me to become the greatest version of myself. So it's like, who am I becoming in this
Yeah.
process? More of like I'm building myself versus
Yeah.
I'm building this business.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people I've talked to, at least, around here and stuff, is like, people are like, why are you doing it? Why are you opening a second one? Or why are you doing it? And nobody's like, oh, the money. That's just not the first answer. It's probably not the money's awesome if it's successful, but that's not the drive. The driver isn't more money, and so it's like,
You can't compete if that's the only thing.
Yeah,
You'll get out competed by someone that is passionate.
Yeah.
And it's easy to quit.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, I'm not making it. And it's we have something else in our heads that makes us go. And so it's that creation. And I think that's probably a lot of times why we really dislike the paperwork and the integrator stuff, is because there's not growth. And that's what makes it grow, but we don't like doing it.
Yeah.
And so like that, and then back to that, it's like, yeah, then it's making us grow as humans. And I don't know about you, but I love when somebody is like newer at something and they want advice. I'm like, oh, I feel like I can, oh, wait, I've got this for you. Like, here, let's talk.
I can
like,
help you.
Yeah, I like, I've been through this. You might not listen to anything I say, but one day you'll remember we had this conversation. But yeah, and I feel like that's where it always winds up going back to, is just kind of like watching things grow, and having community around it always goes back to that. Yeah, and it has nothing to do with actual like finance. Well, of course it does. Like in the end, like it's nice. We all need to eat, and I love traveling. And like, so of course, if I was doing all of this and making zero money for 10 years, I would not be doing it.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
do you think if you knew everything you knew today, that you would have started this in the same way? Or maybe knowing what you know today, how would you have done it differently?
Wouldn't have.
Yeah, nothing.
No, I think that everything I did taught me something. And that's one of the biggest lessons I feel like that starting a business it has taught me. And you can use it in every single aspect of life. Like, I don't, like, I mean, right today on my call, I was like, oh my gosh, there was like these serious things that I could have, if I just maybe would have paid more attention, or just would have, like, there were mistakes that were made. And I was like, even when I was driving here, I was like, I have a choice. I can either get really frustrated at the person that made the mistakes and the person that they're affecting, the delay of the business by a couple weeks or whatever, or I can remember this for next time and move on. Because if I get really, if I get into this mistake that somebody made, it's not going to change anything. So I learned something. It's time to move on. And so going back to when I opened the first time around, it was the same way. I'm like, I wouldn't have done anything different. And there was so much, but I learned so much.
Did you have mentors, books? How did you?
I don't even think I'd read a book at that time, but my ex-husband he still does, but he has, I think, 9 businesses now. So he started a jiu-jitsu school. It's right. Well, actually, the first school was right there, right behind us.
Wow.
And now it's right on the other side of you. So he started that, and he had the one, which was right there when I met him. And so I actually watched him grow his business. So I learned a lot from watching his mostly mistakes.
Sure.
I mean, I learned from watching his growth. He's incredibly successful. He's got 9 or 12 schools now or something. But I would sit there, when the kids were little and stuff, and his businesses were expanding. I just remember, like, and I'll think about it now and start laughing because it'll happen to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to like fire this person, and I'll remember like him stressing all night about it, and and so I'll still reach out to him and be like, what do I do now, and what do I, so or what book should I read, or what. So I learned a lot by osmosis, just watching him.
That's great.
Just make mistakes and make not only mistakes, but like I feel like I learn more from what I remember more.
Yeah.
You see somebody's success and you forget that, they made, or you don't know that they made, 4 million wrong turns before they got to the final destination.
Yeah. Yep.
They're like,
Yeah.
oh, it just happens easy for them.
Mhm.
You're like, no.
Yeah. It's not like what it looks like on Instagram, where it's just like, oh,
Right.
it's so easy and it's
Yeah.
like you can't do anything wrong. Well, there's no real, it just doesn't work that way.
No.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah, you got to learn all this somehow.
Yeah.
And really, there's no way to learn it besides just trial by fire.
Totally.
Like you could read things in the book. That sounds like a great blessing to be able to watch and feel somebody else fall,
Yeah.
because that's like that gets in us, and that
Yep.
memory is really there. Sometimes it's hard for me to learn out of a book. I'm like, oh, okay, I need to I get that,
Yep.
but now I need to like fail in that way myself
Yeah.
to really get it.
Yeah. Or even like reading a book and then reading that same book like 12 months later, and you're like, oh, now I understand what he meant when he said that. Or, like, but yeah, a lot of books too.
Is there a book that you find yourself rereading the most?
I've read Traction a lot.
Okay. Traction's a good one.
I really have. And that's just business. But the other one I really like as far as business is Building a Story Brand.
Oh, okay. I've read other
marketing.
storybooks, but not that one.
It's all about marketing. It's pretty interesting. I listen to some podcasts, a lot of listening. I have a hard time reading nonfiction. So, but I like run a lot, ride my bike, and I'll listen to,
Nice.
for
Same.
hours on end, like random podcasts and
Same.
books. And then I like how the podcast will like, if you like this, you like that. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, I learn, I feel like a lot. And I'll go through phases where I'm like, I can't, like right now, it'd probably be hard to listen to anything just because I'm really in a growth phase, and I'll take a second to, like when I'm not working, it's not what I want to be doing. Because when I'm not working, I'm still working. So like, then I'm like, oh, I'm going to, read a fiction book at night or watch some really bad reality TV. That's what I do a lot at night.
Yeah. What are you watching? What's your just turn your brain off TV?
Not even going to say it. It's the Real Housewives. It's the Real Housewives. They
States
do.
or towns, right?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And there's like two of them that I watch. So there is a huge, I think there's probably 10 or 11, but I've stopped I'm just going to do these ones because I don't need to.
You don't need them all.
They're so addicting.
Oh, are they?
Really bad. I mean, some people laugh, but really bad. Like they're so bad.
There's just so much drama.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
But then I'm like, I'm stressed at work. I don't want to. I'm definitely not watching the news. I'm like, I don't want it. That's not going to unstress me. And so, that's my like guilty pleasure is like bad reality TV.
Yeah, a part of reality TV that I try to incorporate into my videos is switching the image every 2 to 3 seconds. That's what they do. I think the Kardashians were the first ones to discover this, but they change the angle. There's an A camera and a B camera. They're just bouncing between A and B camera every 2 to 3 seconds. You're like, I'm getting bored, and then a new thing and a new thing. It's just constant.
No way.
Yeah, and so when you're making your videos, if you're putting B-roll or putting things together, really the target is every 2 to 3 seconds changing the image.
Whoa.
Yeah, and my video is much better once I've realized that 2 to 3 seconds, and it's taught, but yeah.
That's crazy. Now when I watch those shows, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh.
You'll see it now. When I watch that type of stuff, I'm like, holy cow!
It just grabs your attention, and you're like, you never know what's gonna happen.
It's full ADD kind of TV. Yeah.
Probably not good right before I go to bed, but oh well.
Oh well, I turn the brain off somehow. Yeah, just shut it down.
That's fascinating. Okay, we'll do that too for our stuff.
Let's see. You've now jumped in and you've opened Food Lab. What year is this?
2015.
What did it look like that first couple months? What did that decision where you're like, okay, I'm diving in? Did you have to raise for it? Were you like, how did you really push yourself in that beginning? So that seems like a big jump to take on like a retail space like that.
It was insane.
Yeah.
I was looking for a space. Nope, we had just pulled out a HELOC on our house. So I had some, some cash just from the HELOC and a business plan. Everybody was like, build a business plan. So I built one and I was like, this is dumb. It's just a fake. Like, how do you know what this is?
Right.
people come to me for advice, I'm like, build a business plan and then I'll talk to you. Because it really makes you think through
You got to
things.
think through it all, yeah.
And even the financials, I was like, this is so dumb. How do I know? And then business plan. So I built a business plan. I had the idea, and then I kind of I was in and out of it. My kids were young, and I was like, I would change the business plan. At first, I thought I wanted to open some sort of like incubator for CPG. So, and, like having, investors involved, not in my business, but like be a connector. Like you can teach a class here using your product, and like we'll have investors on, like we'll have the investors that can tap out of here. Like they know if you're here that you're like a high quality product. I had all these ideas.
Boulder is the Silicon Valley of the natural products industry. That's what brought me here, is like it's world-class natural products, CPG, investors, all types of support.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to connect everybody. Like I'm going to be a connector. That's what I'm going to be. So glad I didn't do that because it's so much more work. Like, not that what I do is not a lot of work, but I'm too many different things too many uncontrollable verticals in that. And so I went and I saw a place in Portland. I was just talking about this the other day. Maybe it was to you. I can't remember the name of it, but kind of shifted my thought on what he was like renting out some stuff to food trucks. He was kind of doing that, what I wanted to do. And he was amazing. And he was like, it's kind of tough because it's feast or famine. Like there's not a lot of stability. Like I have the food trucks in, but then in the winter they're gone, and made me rethink about it. So then I would go and I visited a lot of different cooking schools around the country. And I would just take a trip and go to, LA and go to a cooking school there and see what it was like. And so over those 4 or 5 years, I built the business plan, changed it, came up with the ideas, was raising my kids, and finally just decided to pull the trigger on this concept that was like, it's a cooking school, and it's for, I was still personal chefing, and I'm sitting there in people's kitchens, and they have these beautiful houses, and they're having these parties, and everybody's just still standing in the kitchen asking me questions. And I was like, this is it. This is where people want to be. They want to be in the kitchen. They want to be knowing, they want to be learning. They want to be sipping wine. They want to be whatever they're doing. And so that's kind of like, all of that kind of helped form this idea. And so I went and I was looking at all this different property, and then I found the property on Pearl, which was not in my budget.
Yeah, for those just listening, Pearl Street is like the premier spot in Boulder. It's our walking mall. It's the spot to be. It's the coolest spot in Boulder.
Yeah. And I was like, well, you know what? If I'm going to do it.
It's the high rent district.
It's the high rent district. And it was. And it happened to be, the location was owned by somebody that I had cooked for a long time. And I called her up and I said, I think this is your space. And she said, it is. And somebody has the lease right now. Like they literally, I just gave them the lease to sign. And it was a concept she didn't love. And she knew me. And she said, what I can do for you is, I would rather have you in there. You have 24 hours to sign the lease. So I couldn't do any due diligence. I couldn't see if it was even okay if there was a cooking school in that location.
A wild
Some
jump.
of the shit I did. Yeah.
Jump.
And then my husband at the time was like, you've lost your mind. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm doing it.
But what was that? Just strong intuition? What was guiding you?
I think stubbornness, intuition, I think a little bit of mix. I never know which is which. I think I'm getting better at feeling that out. But I think
that's one of the greatest superpowers that we have is our intuition. And I think our society really rewards or like praises intellect, where the intuition is really just whatever these things are that are kind of moving through us to help us bring these things in. It's not like all these things that I'm doing are really my ideas. I'm just executing on them because it just keeps coming through and I'm listening. And so that intuition's very powerful.
Yep. Like I knew it. I was like, this is it. This is the spot. And, if somebody analytical tried to ask me questions, it wouldn't work. But like, I was just like, I don't know. Like
you just knew it. And now you're here to show like that was true.
That was it. And it took a long time to get open because it was back and forth with the city. And that was all that red tape. And it was, and then it was, building I built my website. You know, like I'm sitting there, nobody worked with me. Like I was me by myself with a 5-year-old and how old was she when I was 5 and 7? 4 and 7, whatever. And, I'm sitting there like building a Squarespace website. I don't know how to do this. Well, I do.
Yeah,
now I do.
Yeah.
I'm putting up the schedule of classes and like trying to, it was just everything. And so when I opened, I had no clue what to expect, which is really exciting this time. I still don't know what to expect, but I can be in it more because 10 years ago, I was just, I don't know how I was even alive trying to do all this. And then, I posted all the classes, and that first month, it just took off. I found out when I was opened up the website, and I just remember like sitting there at Locali downtown and watching, like I put out the first newsletter, and then I sat there watching the classes start ding, 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 filling up. And I was like, holy cow, I did it. Like
this
I did
is
it.
happening.
Like I actually did it. Like people are signing up. And that was it. And like it just, within the first month, I was my only employee. I had classes almost every night.
Wow.
I was washing the aprons. I was doing all the shopping. I was doing all the teaching. I was not sleeping. I was going through a divorce because we wound up getting divorced like right when I opened. So it was like the most wild 6 months of my life that I don't really remember. Like it was going through the motions. And so I've got this, this horrible part of my personal life, and then this part of the business is actually here, but I have no clue what to do with it because I don't know how to run a business. Like I didn't know how to run a business.
Yeah.
And like a month in, I finally hired somebody to help. And then after that, then I got to like pull back and start to see what was, I think by the end of that first year, I probably had, 10, 11 employees. I don't know. So it went from, me, like, doing the market. I'm a one-man band. I can do it all. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh no, I have a business. I can't not a business, like a brick and mortar that I can't, it's not a one-man band. And so, then it grew that year, and then all growth until COVID. And then.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
That was rough. Yeah, we had it was a year. I was looking in Denver. I remember standing in Denver on like that Wednesday before we shut down, and
thinking about the
I was
the
at a
next
space
location.
in Denver, and the real estate agent was like, "This is gonna blow over," and I wouldn't call that intuition. I would also call that just watching the news.
Yeah, right.
But I was like, "No, you've lost your mind.
Yeah.
Like I'm out." And so then COVID hit, and we did a lot of stuff at first online, and at first there was just nothing anybody could do. So I was just at home stressing.
It was full shutdown.
Full shutdown.
Yeah.
Like, because you couldn't do anything.
Was it not allowed?
It wasn't allowed.
Yeah, it wasn't even allowed.
Like, we weren't allowed in there.
Yeah.
I could go in there by myself, but then what do I do?
You can't bring people together.
Right.
Okay.
And then eventually, after a couple of years.
That's wild. Yeah.
Couple of months. They allowed us to start. I don't even remember all of it, but we quickly, when we realized that it was going to go on longer than we thought, we shifted everything so people could sign up for a class. We could bring like one employee in. They would build out their mise boxes. They'd build out boxes. So if it's paella, we build out, 8 two-person paella boxes. And then somebody would come over and, show their name and pick up their paella box and go home, and then our chef would be there on camera, and we would do virtual classes. It made no money. It probably lost me money, but I think it kept all of us a little bit sane.
Okay.
And so
everyone's still working, things are happening.
And
okay.
And so that's what we did. And then we eventually were allowed to have people, and then now 5
After
years
how
later.
long could you bring people back in?
I think I feel like our first kids camp was online, and that was in June. I don't know how we did that. And then, so if my memory serves me, it's sometime in June we could start bringing people back in, but they could only be a very small amount of people, and they had to be very spaced out, and people had to wear masks, and we're cooking and eating. So it was very
And these are the
Boulder County.
Yeah.
I strictly followed. I was like, Boulder County Health, whatever they say, and because then people would. Then dealing with the public was half the battle, because either direction people were upset, and I was like, I'm just doing what I just have to do a Boulder County. I'm sorry that
Yeah.
not like, because then it got to a point where people didn't have to be vaccinated, or you did have to show your vaccination card. And I was like, so it was like,
So Boulder County was mandating the space that people were, the mask, and then
the vaccinations.
Vaccinations. Oh, interesting.
so I didn't have to do that, but I couldn't run my business.
Yeah, right.
So it was just like one of those things where it was like, all right, well, if you want to come, you have to bring your vaccination card.
Wow.
And then my staff had to play the police, and then people would show up and be like, well, I'm not getting vaccinated. And we're like, well, it's not like, I don't care what you're doing. Like, I
Yeah.
can't run my business
Yeah.
without you. Like, I'm just trying
we have to follow these rules, or what? They would shut you down?
They would shut you down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they would send people to, or somebody else would tell on some. I mean, it was I think it was like the Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually it was gone and everything was back to normal.
About how long was that, those rules happening? Where you were
So,
open, but you had these
we were
strict
open,
rules.
and I think they shut us down again, like open maybe June, and then a lot of strict rules, like reduced, like maybe you could only have 8 people in there, and we had to take their temperature.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I feel like it was around the holidays where they shut us down again, like fully.
Yep.
For a couple weeks. It was pretty quick. And then I think they allowed us to bring people back in again, and then maybe another quick shutdown. And that was like a year later.
Yeah.
And I remember at that point, I was like, I'm not doing anything until they just, like, I'm not doing online. Like, I was just like, I'm toast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we just have to get, like, the vaccinations were about to come out. And I think that's where I was like, once those come out, like, at least, I don't know. So it was definitely a year. Well, no, because that was a year after. And then we had to show the vaccination cards. So it was probably a solid 18 months of dealing heavily with whatever regulations were coming and going, and then having to be really on it for fear of getting shut down, or at certain points in the beginning, especially, it was fear of somebody getting sick.
Sure.
Like I didn't.
No one knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, it was just, honestly, it was fear of getting shut down, because I was just like, I don't know. I've had COVID 4 times, and like,
Yeah, right.
all my friends have had COVID,
Yeah.
and so that fear dissipated, and then it was just like dealing with all of the bureaucracy of it all, and that was a year and a half, year and a half probably.
And how did your customers respond during that time?
I think, it sucks because most of them were great, and it only takes the one person, and that's still how it is. Like, we were doing the math for something for Denver, and we've had 75,000 people through there in the last 10 years. I guarantee you 74,990 have been amazing.
Yeah.
But you've got those, like, some, like, that one person can just spoil, like, the whole week.
Yeah.
And so that's, I feel like, how it was during COVID. Like, most people were super understanding.
Yeah.
And then you just have an email that's like, I walked by and people were in there without a mask or something. And you're like,
oh.
Yeah. Or opposite, like, we're not coming there because you're making us wear a mask. And I'm like, it's not me. Here's the number for Boulder County Public Health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My business, I was very fortunate in those ways where I'm mostly direct to consumer. I'm just selling things online. I didn't have to deal
Was
with
it
anything.
good? Like, were people excited because they were?
Yeah, well, health all of a sudden became a lot more
Yeah.
important. We have a lot of good studies around some of the antioxidants in our product and COVID as well, and lab tests, and were proven to help in some of these ways.
Oh, that's awesome.
I did have a commercial kitchen then,
Okay.
and that was challenging, and dealing with can we go in, and what are all the rules around that? That was I'm like, can I continue to manufacture and make it, because I had a commercial kitchen here in Boulder.
Okay.
But then nobody ever came around to like check on us or be like, are these guys? And we were like what's it called? Like I don't know, a special business where you can keep working.
Oh yeah, I remember that. There was different
tiers of business, and they're like, all right, this tier
right.
we need food, so keep making food.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's right. It was like you
were the special blessed group where they're like,
you can't get your hair done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's not, what did they call that? But yeah, that was a wild time.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then you made it through COVID.
Yeah.
You had maybe 10, 11, 12 employees coming out of that.
Yeah. Yep. And it was, we just kind of slowly crept back up to the pace that we were at before. And sometimes even, like the year after, not 2021 or 22, but it must have been 23. 23 was our best year. Well, now 24 was, but 23, it went from the increase and then the COVID and then back right up. And I think a lot of it, they fell in love with cooking.
Yeah.
They wanted people, they wanted experiences. A lot of the corporate team building, like a lot of people were remote. Like we still have teams that come in there for corporate team building and they're like, we've never met in person.
Oh, wow.
So all that isolation and remote working helps Food Lab. Yeah, I think people really like the experience still.
What would you say the average cooking ability is of the people coming through?
I would say anywhere from like never have cooked at all to people that know what they're doing and they're just there to have fun, or they're there with their, like their partner and that wanted to go and it's a fun night out and, they get to hang out and cook with friends. Just like if you're having a cooking party at your house, like you all know how to cook, or maybe you do. But, like it's that same kind of feel, like everybody's just going to get together and cook. So we've definitely had, sometimes the questions that I hear, I'm like, wait, did somebody actually not know? Like I even in, Boulder, I've heard people say, I've never had a beet, I'm like, what? What do you mean you never had a beet? So we have everybody from all over. Or I've never cooked rice.
So beets, rice. Tell us about the sourcing. How do you think about the ingredients for Food Lab, for your home? And, we live in a very blessed spot to where we have,
oh my gosh,
phenomenal ingredients available to us. But what are some of your thoughts?
We follow, because we have our menus are so all over the place. Like we've got paella, then the next night we've got a Thai, it's harder for us to get super seasonal, and we're in Colorado. So our season is very summer heavy. My whole thing for there pretty much is to teach people how to cook and then to educate, like they can go and get the food from, I don't want to stop somebody from cooking because they can't afford organic food. I like to eat that way, and I like to tell people it's important to eat that way, and I'll help, stuff like that. But I also have this thing about like, well, if it's not organic, you can still eat it. Like, please still do. It's fresh. Like, fresh food is always better no matter what. I think that our issues with organic food and sustainable farming are well above my pay grade, and that's something that we can give back to on a different level. Like, it's a root problem. And like a lot of things in this country, it's always left up to like the small companies to deal with. All the regenerative ag and, all the organic farming and a lot of the local farming and stuff, I think is really important. It's also really difficult to run a business on just supporting all of that, or else, because people won't pay for it, honestly. Like they just won't. So a lot of our stuff comes from, I keep calling it Growers Organic. It used to be Growers Organic. It's called What Chefs Want, and they're a local. Well, they were that's another thing that's always hard to keep up with. I'm like, they were a local business, and then somebody bought them out. They get a lot of stuff from the local farms. You can get a lot of organic stuff from them. But then they'll pull in stuff from all over the place in the middle of the winter because we still need it. That pine melon, that was, I hope they're still doing what they were doing, but they were like almost like an Instacart for local produce. So a lot of farms have excess things that are the excess produce that are going to go bad, even like flowers or, they don't know what to do with it. And so they'll drop it off, or Pine Melon will pick it up, bring it down to their facility. It's down like right in downtown Denver, or right north of downtown Denver. I went down there and toured it. Then the consumer or the business can go on and shop basically local farms year round via Pine Melon. And so it's like Instacart, but it's
at a discounted rate.
The rates are not bad at all. Like they were pretty decent. And then they also have a lot of like the vendors that might be at, so they also do like prepared food, like some CPG and some like one of the drinks we have at Food Lab are the Frescos.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that stuff is so good.
Yeah, Juan, he was on Shark Tank.
He was?
Yeah, he's a friend. Yeah.
I love that guy.
He also owns Green Belly Hot Sauce.
Yes, that's right. That's right. He's amazing.
Shout out Juan. Come on the podcast. I'm working on it.
He's amazing.
He really is. He's very well spoken. He won Boulder Pitch Slam 2-3 years ago, which is like the Boulder version of Shark Tank.
I've been there. I've gone to those.
Yeah, he won that.
He did?
Yeah.
I think I was at the gas station after a run. I was at the gas station at El Dorado, and they were in there, and they had the passion fruit one, the maracuja, and I was like, this is so good. And then I looked and I was like, wait a second, this isn't Boulder. Like I emailed him like the next day. I had like 4 flats of it. So we sell that there. But like, I know he was selling through it was right then that I had learned about pine melon. And I was like, oh, you should talk to pine melon. He's like, oh, I have, I don't understand how all that, the CPG stuff and like that stuff works. But he was like, oh, I have all this stuff that was like allocated to somewhere and now they don't want it. And now I'm sitting on it and it's going to go bad. And the pine melon girl was there and she's like, oh, we can buy it all and sell it. So it was like this cool, it's a cool company. I don't know I haven't heard a lot lately.
I hope they're around.
I think they're still around.
Yeah. Sounds like a complicated business to run, but man, it's what tremendous value to take what would be waste and make use out of it.
I mean, it's tough too when you're trying to run. If you're running like a farm to table restaurant or a set menu restaurant, it's a lot easier to have like all these relationships and be like, this is, oh, what do you have this week? Okay, great. Well, there's extra turnips. So for us, it's like, okay, the menu is, whatever, like plant-based Thai. Well, we need this stuff and we've got to have, so it's like this different animal that we're dealing with. So it was nice to have that pine melon be able to be like, okay, we are sourcing from some.
In a good way.
Supporting this business. Most of the time for me, I'm like, learn how to cook, make smart decisions in when you're buying your food. And now it's really grocery prices. I'm like, don't, just eat. Just eat.
You said you go to Costco. I go to Costco as well. I think that's great value for their organic produce.
And they have some good stuff, and they also, I feel like, introduce some good. I remember like the Sambazon acai went through there. Like they'll help companies grow, and it seems like to me, everybody that I've known that have worked through them, that it's in a pretty decent way.
I think they're one of the best retailers to work with.
Yeah.
There's some extremely challenging to work with, and Costco is one of the best ones. They'll even help finance the production of it.
So we'll go there for some stuff. But yeah, they do have good organic stuff, and sometimes their meats are good sometimes if you want to buy 80 pounds for your family.
Yeah, right. Just I go to Golden Hoof.
Oh.
Yeah, have you heard of them?
Where's
They're
that?
a local farm, and it's the highest quality. Now, I think Costco is the highest quality you can get at like a grocery store. But if you have a local farm that's doing eggs or beef, pork, chicken, it's just like, it's like 10 times better, maybe for like 50% more of the price, but it's like 10 times better. And you feel really good about it. You're like, oh, I can see how I'm supporting this farm and these animals. And I think what are your thoughts on this? It's like if an animal lives a challenging life, like a stressful, anxious life, which I think many farmed animals do, does that anxiety, does that stress translate into the food and then into us?
Yeah, probably.
Right? Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so this is like, these animals live beautiful lives. They're not living some hellish life. My anxiety seems to be much isn't there. If I get a burger at, I don't know, some random Buc-ee's, I'm like, that might give me anxiety. It's like, where did this meat come
Just
from?
walking in gives you anxiety.
Yeah.
And then eating whatever meat. Oh yeah, those are huge ranches somewhere in, or are they? Are they ranches? But yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of places now, actually post-COVID, like where the Cured's got their stand down on 75th, and on J we have, why am I blanking on the name? Black Cat. So there's a lot of the stands and the farms that have stands outside of the market that you can actually access all year round or a lot of the year, and just pull up and grab eggs or whatever greens they have.
Yeah, same for Golden Hoof.
Is that what they do? Okay.
There's a yearly membership. Maybe it's $100 a year to be a member. Once you're a member, then you can go in and at any time.
Where is that one?
It's East Boulder. It's by Valley Soul. I'm forgetting the name of the road, but it's just East Boulder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's good. It's really good. And then it's amazing. It's all honor system. So you go in and no one's even working there.
Okay.
And it's like you got your own cash register and you just cash register yourself and you pay, and it's just
that's awesome.
Yeah, full honor system. The whole thing feels really good. And there's ducks cruising around the property, and I get duck eggs. That's a really interesting egg.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, much harder shell, much like deeper yolk.
Yellow is yeah. Yeah, I wish I had more time to do one day. I'm like, one day like, that's like my dream to be able to just like wake up, be like, what am I going to cook today? All right, I'm
Yeah.
going to go to Carrot and get some eggs. I'm going to go over to Golden Hoof and get this. And then I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
make, and like have that. That's the ultimate dream.
What does self-care look like for you today? How do you take care of yourself so that you can then take care of all of this,
I don't know.
these
This
businesses?
is a
and
rough week to ask me that.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm like, I think I have to work out all the time. I think that's huge.
Me too.
And so that's like, I go to Alpine Training Center Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like I have like my set. So that's not even a thought. Like that's just what I do.
And is it a class or
Yeah, it's like
I love taking classes.
Yeah, and it's like, it's always, it's the small form fitness. So it's like always 8 of us or whatever. So it's your community.
Mm-hmm.
Like the word of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that always sets me like up at least, on those days. And then skate skiing, running, all that. It's funny because all of my self-care is typically doing something active on my body. And I'm still working on trying to find something that's not. Because like everything, I'm like, what if you break your arm or you don't have time to do that? Or like, where is it? I don't care. Is it crocheting? Is it pottery? Is it, like there's always a struggle for me. Like the more stressed I am, the harder I go on my body. And then the more tired my body is. And then it's just like this
maybe
vicious
it's that
cycle.
gardening. Maybe it's planting flowers.
It's the gardening.
It's one of the best ones for me.
Is.
Yeah.
It probably should be.
Especially if I'm shoes off, like grounding as well. There's so much proven benefit to that, to being like fully connected to the earth.
Oh yeah,
very balancing.
With a cup of coffee in the morning. It's all nice out. I'm like just picking the weeds, seeing what's grown.
Yeah.
See, now I'm gonna go plant something.
Do you think your kids would join you in that?
Yeah. No.
Oh no.
No. My daughter might.
It'd be fun to have a shared hobby. I bet.
Yeah.
I don't have any kids, but
what do we do together? Yeah, we do a lot still. Well, my daughter's away at school, but she's a big mountain biker. So I could try to mountain bike with her, but she's way better.
It's a great sport. I love the mountain bike too.
She's insane. She's like a little enduro rider and like does all the crazy downhill stuff. I can't keep up with her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But
she's a real athlete.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's fun. But yeah, we do some stuff. We go out to, a lot of it's like eating, going out to dinner, barbecuing, like a lot of it's sort of centered around food, which I think that's where it all comes down to. It's like, that's the place where we all circle around at the end of the day. And so it's like, that's, as long as you got your little crew together eating, cooking. Sometimes my son likes to make chocolate chip cookies. That's his favorite thing to do.
And you said that's your weakness.
I'm like, just go hide them. Let's just go hide them. But yeah, So
does he do it just to tempt you?
No, he'll eat them all.
Oh, he'll go.
He's like, I'm gonna have 2 a day, and then he'll wake up the next day. He's like, well, I woke up and had like 7. I'm like, nah.
Does he try to make them a little bit healthier? Or is he like perfecting the rest? No, he's like, who cares?
He's making like the total back of the Ghirardelli chocolate.
Yeah,
like the
as
classic
much sugar as we could pack into it. Who cares?
Yep. Yeah. And they were good. I'm like,
sugar's tough to beat. Now, if there's some cornerstone foods in your kind of pantry or in your refrigerator, what are some of the, what are the top 4 most consumed foods?
Beets. I've probably talked about beets like 7 times.
Yeah,
I like beets a lot. I was actually in Mexico with some of my girlfriends this past weekend, self-care. And we got to the airport on Friday morning. And I was like, I'm not a big breakfast person, but they had beets on the menu. And I was like, I'm having beets. And then we got to the hotel, and there was like beets. I was like, I still get to have beets every day, even when I'm in Mexico. But I do love beets a lot.
What's the power of beets for those that might not know?
They're good.
I mean, that color is so unique. It's a very, like that deep red purple. It's a very unique color in nature. We do 2 microgreens that are purple, a red cabbage is actually purple, and then a purple sango radish. And purples signal a really unique antioxidant called anthocyanins.
Oh.
That's what's also in blueberries and elderberries. It's very unique in nature and really powerful at pulling bad things out of the body.
Really?
I bet it's in beets too.
I'm gonna look
it's
that
a
up.
very unique color, but yeah, anthocyanins. Those the different colors of these plants signal different benefits.
Okay. Oh, interesting. See, I don't know a lot about that. That's fast. Now I'm going to look it up because I am really drawn to them.
Yeah, you love those good anthocyanins.
Yeah.
And there's many other things in these plants that we haven't even discovered. It's thought that maybe less than 10% of what's in these plants we even know exist. So we basically don't even know what's in most things, most
Holy
plants.
cow.
Yeah, 90% of what's in these plants we don't even know. We have no idea about it.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, polyphenols, plant chemicals. We know 10% of like the total plant chemicals that exist. So basically we don't know anything.
Yeah, that was to say, it's
Yeah.
like
There's nothing.
we just eat them.
Yeah. We know some vitamins, some minerals,
So
some
this is good for you.
yeah. And we're like, and then there's such a intuitive sense, like, oh, my
Yeah.
body loves this. Just like for you, it's beets. It's like, well, for me, it's raw liver right now.
Whoa.
And I get it from Golden Hoof, and I get a frozen thing of it. I'll either get beef or venison, and then I'll defrost it. I'll chop it up in a very small chunks, like chunks small
Yeah.
enough to where I could just swallow it because you can't chew it. It's so tough you can't chew it. And then I'll put it on parchment paper, like layers of parchment paper in glass Tupperware in the freezer. And then I'll take that out and I'll just crack off a couple pieces, let it thaw for an hour or two. And then I'll just wash it down like I'm taking a bunch of pills all at
Whoa.
once. And it's the only supplement that I take that really makes me feel something besides my microgreens. My microgreens make me feel good too, but I'm almost immune to those. I take so
Okay.
many. The only thing that's like I think maybe it's just where I'm at in my, I don't know, kind of health journey.
Yeah.
Raw liver is just like, whoa.
That's wild.
Yeah. In nature, when the wolves take down like an elk or something, the alpha wolf eats first, and he always goes for the liver. The liver is the number one thing consumed.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the healthiest part of the animal.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Isn't that funny? Like what, like your body, you're like, this is what I need.
Yeah, so my intuition is through the roof, and it's so interesting that it's like liver was, I don't know, it just was not a part of any meals that I saw at home or at restaurants.
just
Or it's like
came-
liver was nothing for me growing up. Just recently, I'm like maybe 6 months into eating liver,
Whoa.
raw liver. Yeah, it tastes very
wild.
ironing. It's very high in iron. It's really good. Good for you. This podcast is brought to you by B Micro, organic freeze-dried microgreens for easy, everyday nutrition. Sprinkle them on any meal and enjoy the benefits. Shop now and save with code STEVE15 at bmicro.farm.
That's our bodies. I have this, that reminded me of something. I was probably like 18 or 19, and I was going on fish tour. I hated bananas, like to the point where if somebody had eaten a banana, I couldn't be near them. Like it was just one of those like, oh, if it's in a smoothie, like there's no way. They were strong, and we left the house, and I was like, I need to get a banana. And even my friend was like, what? And I was like, I don't know. We went to the store, and I got a bunch of bananas, and I started eating bananas. The most random change of like what my body, I mean, I was repulsed by them. And then maybe 4 days into the trip, something happened. I got really sick. I remember the ambulance came, it got me. I didn't know what was happening.
This is recently in Mexico?
No. This
Oh,
is when I was
long
like
time ago.
18.
Oh,
This is when I was
okay.
like 18. And they took me to the hospital, and I had kidney stone. Turns out that potassium helps you with like not get kidney stones. So there was something in my body after being completely like could not even smell a banana. So one day waking up and wanting to eat like 5 bananas a day, and then 4 days later I had a kidney. Like my body like
Wow.
knew something. It was just craving.
Yeah.
And I'd never forget that, because I was like, what was that? Like my body completely went into survival mode beyond my control and made me eat that stuff. And then, but I was young at the time. I didn't know that connection. I had no clue. And then like
Your body
later when I was looking it up, I was like, what causes kidney stones? And it's like, oh, like you should eat bananas. And like, and I was like, wait a second, this is Banana-gate. So yeah, our bodies, your body must be just knowing something about needing, like it does. It knows sometimes what we need.
It really does. So right now, your beets is a
Yeah,
staple.
and they're grounded. I mean, they're a root vegetable, so it's
And
probably,
we grow 'em here
probably
in
trying to
Colorado.
ground me.
Yeah.
I bet that's part of it. Beets. I would say that there is always beets, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, blue cheese. Blue cheese I love blue cheese a lot.
And is that always like cow milk, or is it goat ever? Is it?
I'll do goat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like goat cheeses, but I have like I have my point raised blue cheese that I eat.
Now, blue cheese is interesting to me because that's like moldy
Ooh.
cheese,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like some mold can kill us,
Yeah.
and some mold we're like, oh, we love it. It's a real delicacy.
Well, it's wild too when you have your blue cheese too long in the fridge, which I rarely do because I eat it. But then it gets mold on, like there's a different mold on it, and I'm like,
Oh.
this isn't like
Not that
I shouldn't be
tasty good
eating
mold.
this mold. Like my moldy cheese got moldy in the wrong way. And I'm like, it's confusing. But yeah, on blue cheese, I'm trying to think of what else. Those
Is
would
there
be my
another
top.
food that comes to mind that's like good mold?
I can't think of
I
one.
can't think of one either.
No.
It's like a
All I
lot
could
of bad molds, and then there's blue
And
cheese,
then there's blue
which we
cheese.
like. We'll love that one.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite flavors.
Because that's what it is, right? It's like some kind of a mold happening.
Yeah.
I think so. Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. We were just in Mexico, and there's a lot of passion fruit stuff. I love It's one of my favorite flavors.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not easy to get around here, or they are.
Kind of a tropical
Yeah.
plant. Yeah, it's got to ship from pretty far away.
Yeah, there's a place outside of. I used to get it. It's called Rincon Tropics, and it's outside of Santa Barbara in California, and they ship tropical. They have a tropical fruit farm, and so you can get monthly deliveries of tropical fruit. And the amount. It was actually like I would get these boxes and they weren't that crazy, the price, and it would be like full of, I was like, what am I gonna do with these avocados?
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. But like, so to the point where I was like, I was like giving everything away to people.
Fun.
But they had like whatever their season was, you would get, and it was avocado, and all different types of avocados, passion fruit, all Rincon Tropics. That's what it's
Now,
called.
do microgreens ever come into play at your house or at the food lab?
Yeah, we use them sometimes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is there a favorite kind? Is there
I'm not familiar like that much with them. I just know they're pretty.
Yeah, they're pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're mostly used as a raw food garnish
Yeah,
at like
that's-
high-end restaurants.
That's it.
Or,
Yeah, a lot of times I'll use them when we're doing like when I'm taking pictures and stuff. It's like get the flowers and the microgreens. And, yeah.
So microgreens, for those not aware, are a phase in the plant's life when they're just about 14 days old and naturally the most concentrated in all the
Oh.
vitamins, minerals, nutrients, all the good things. That's the naturally most concentrated point in the plant's life. Sprouts are, people confuse microgreens with sprouts, but sprouts are grown in like a mason jar, usually 2, 3, 4 days old. Microgreens are grown in flats, typically in soil. So they're going through photosynthesis, they get chlorophyll. They're about 10 times as powerful as a sprout.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
You just started doing it?
I just got really into plants. I was just
wow.
like, whoa, plants are magic. I had no idea. I thought just like a tree was a tree, just like I don't know, just like a basketball was a basketball. It was just like nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't think that there was anything behind it. It's just like there's a tree that doesn't even have what's going on with that tree? Nothing. But I always loved growing. I grew up in the forested area. I loved being in the forest, but I never got educated about any of the nature around me. And then I had some, and I was like, whoa, these plants are like our teammates, our friends, our allies, our teachers, our healers, they're our food, our medicine. Like there's so much with these plants. And it's like we co-evolved with so many plants too. Like we've got a really long relationship with many plants where it's like, okay, we help them, they help us, and we've grown up together. Maybe the oldest relationship that I'm thinking of is hemp. Over 10,000 years. We have a whole endocannabinoid system. So allowing those cannabinoids like CBD and THC are cannabinoids, and we have a whole system to accept those in. That's why I feel so good. That's why CBD is so calming. It feels so good.
Yeah.
These just partnerships, and that's what I feel like. I feel like I'm just in partnership with the plants, and I help to spread them. And I would love to spread some to you. So I have a gift for you.
Oh, amazing!
Here's a gift. That's a blend of freeze-dried microgreens.
Oh my
I do
gosh.
all of the brassicas, so broccoli, radish, red cabbage. Those are
amazing.
thought of as like the kings of the microgreens. They're the most
really?
detoxifying, yeah.
Oh, cool. So what do you do with this?
You would use it the same way as fresh. Think of it as a raw food garnish. Yeah, you can twist that top off. Yeah, some might kind of fall around.
Oh, it's really pretty.
Yeah, so it's all freeze dried. So when we freeze dry something, the main benefit is it retains all the good things, but it's also like the vitamins, minerals, nutrients, but it's also retaining the color, the flavor, the texture, and that has over a 1 year shelf life.
Whoa.
That one's equal to a whole tray of microgreens. So that's like a lot of microgreens in there. They're over 90% water, so they scrunch down really small.
Holy cow, that's really cool. So then you just pop them on things. That
Yeah.
gives you that extra boost.
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
booster blend. I didn't even see that when I said boost.
And there's synergistic benefits amongst these microgreens as well. We've lab tested all of this, but a very common use case that you might enjoy is for picky eaters. So you could sneak it into, many parents will sneak it into their kids' mac and cheese, pasta, whatever.
Yeah,
just
you would
don't
never
cook
know.
it. So once you've plated these things and you just mix it
Once
in,
you cook it,
you can burn off a lot of the good stuff.
yeah. How long have you been doing this?
Almost 6 years. Started as
wow.
a microgreens farm, and then got into the freeze drying, and then just kept going.
Do you
with
still
it.
do the microgreens?
No,
I mean,
it's all
okay, it's all freeze dried. This is it.
no fresh microgreens.
Right,
It's all
that's-
freeze dried. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's like the fewer products I can have, really, actually, the better.
Yep.
It's like sometimes I'll explode and a bunch of products will show up, and then I'm like, okay, trim, and
Yep.
yeah, now I'm at probably the least amount of products I've ever had. Even though I'm still launching more, as I launch more, I'll peel other ones back.
Yeah.
It just gets too complicated
Yeah.
for the customer and for just us operationally to bring them to market.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is amazing. Thank you. Where's your kitchen?
Now it's I'm fully outsourced. So now I don't manufacture any of it. I've just picked up like another 40 to 60 hours a week because I was in there full time with one other helper. And so that was part of the inspiration to start this podcast. I'm like, the
amazing.
whole game is
Congratulations.
marketing. How do I do more marketing? Wouldn't it be a beautiful, beautiful life to just be able to sit with like cool, interesting people and help promote them? And I get to learn things and make money. So that's my target. And maybe it takes, 5 years to get there, but I'm like, I would love to monetize this. And right now I'm monetizing it by promoting Be Micro, and there'll be kind of ads throughout it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Holy cow. You did it. I mean, like you're sitting here not in the kitchen. When did that shift happen?
January of this year.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, so 3-4 months ago. Yeah. And so for the first time, I sold software for 10 years, and then as like an outside sales person going around calling on businesses in person, and then I started this about 6 years ago. And so my whole life, my whole career, I've been like tied to a location, and now this is the first time I'm virtual. So I'm fully virtual. I could go anywhere. This podcast setup is set up to, easily move around. But I've got this studio because I really like the in person. There's just like a better kind of vibe and energy than like the Zoom interviews.
Yeah.
But yeah, just really leaning into the marketing, and it feels good.
How fun.
Yeah,
Congrats.
it's fun. Yeah, it is a lot of fun. Like this has been fun for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's amazing. Rebuild a story, building a story. Is it Seth Godin? I don't think it's Seth Godin. Is building a story brand. It's totally fascinating. It's his way of it's a marketing book. It's just his way of how he believes how we market wrong, kind of. Well, no, he talks about how we have to market, but like, it's a different way of thinking about marketing.
So how do you think about marketing now?
Well, one of the biggest things that I think, now like I start to notice it on other people's brands, but one of his biggest things is like, it's not about, actually you did a really good job today because it's not about your business. Like your business shouldn't be bragging about your business to your clients. Like if we're like, we're the best cook, when you like, we're the best food, the best cookies, we're awesome, we're cool. People are like, well, what are you doing for me? If you're that cool, like what you just want me to be like, you want me to go to a cool place? And so like, it's just this like shift of like, no, what is this is all about the client and like the story and like, like going back to that again. But obviously in a way more articulate way, he talks about it and a way to put it to use. And of course that he's got some sort of not EOS, but something in there where like you can download his PDF and fill it out. They all do. But yeah, that was the biggest shift is like being simple about your branding and letting people know. He's like, when you open up a website and it's like 1,800 paragraphs about the founder, like all this, there's a time and place, like podcasts, but like when you open up the website, nobody wants to hear about the dead flies on the sill at the Burger King on the front page of the Food Labs website.
Yeah, you gotta get to it.
Yeah, so it's like, he's like, when you open it, a website, tell people within like 5 words what they're doing there and what you're doing for them, and I was like, oh, that's amazing, because we have so much in our heads about our business and we want everybody else to know that. So it really helped me like be like, okay, all it has to say, cooking, like we teach cooking classes. Like that's the most important thing. But I want to talk about the community and sitting at the table and how we're all gathering. And there's different forms to let people know how you do that. But like
There's levels. They start at that level. If they want more, they can go deeper and deeper.
There's different places, even on the site you could put it, or but I was like, that's eye-opening because it's hard for, I think, us to we want to get it all out there. And he was like, yeah, that's a really bad idea. And now I see like cars. I took a picture of one the other day of like a truck that drove by, and it was like, we paint beautiful houses. And I was like, amazing. I know what that person does.
Yeah.
Like that's all I needed to know. I didn't need to know that he grew up with no money on the streets of Compton. Anyway, I enjoyed his book. It's pretty entertaining.
I love that. So now the next phase for you is opening up this Denver location. Tell us a little bit more about that and kind of what you see the future of Food Lab being.
Yeah, Denver will be open hopefully in like August, September. It's interesting because I get to, the website, everything's there. All the operations are there. And so I get to really be in it this time, whereas last time I had no clue what was happening. I didn't know if I was going to succeed. I didn't know if, like I said, it's still going to, when I put up the classes, I'm going to be still waiting for all those ding, 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 dings. That's not going to change.
Yeah.
I know a lot more. And so there's a lot more risk, though, because I know what I have to lose. So it's a little bit more stressful in that way. Whereas when I did it the first time, as you know, like when you're going into something, you're like,
I was naive. Right. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. Whirl. I just know I've got to at least try.
Yeah. And now it's a different level. It's like I'm risking everything. It's all self-funded. And so it's like, all right, let's hopefully this works. And then I'd like to open, I think after this one, I'd probably have to go through investors if I want to open a few more, because it gets to a point where I'm like, I can't keep self-funding.
Sure.
And also I don't want to, and it gets scary. The risk is scary. And so I'd probably try to, I'm kind of in a phase right now where I'm trying to really tighten up the operations. So
what about franchising?
I think the build out is pretty expensive.
Okay.
So that's a tough one. It's a tough barrier to entry for people, but also I've thought about it, and I think that I think there's other ways for this business to expand without franchising. I think sometimes it's easier, like if you have less nuances. So I'm trying to find that line. Like, where can I get down to less nuances so it's easier to open multiple locations, but also let people, take ownership? Is it some sort of different, equity, or, almost. Like I said before, I like to make things up that don't exist, and then I have to figure out how it works, like a cooking school. I mean, some of those existed, but even to this day, people are like, what is it? Wait, what do you do in there? So right now I'm, just kind of scheming and thinking like, how would it work? Like, is it in one investment group? Is it, if I go out of state, is it somebody that buys it that's actually like a partner? And because I can't be in Austin or Scottsdale, so like and I don't want just somebody, it would be tough if you're not going to just franchise it to have somebody just being paid to run it. Like everybody, you need some sort of skin in the game. So as soon as I get past this crunch of getting Denver open, that's where my growth is going to go, into kind of that phase, which I haven't done yet. So to me, it's super fascinating to be able to sit down with investment groups and people and just even learn and be like, okay, how does this, will I do it? I don't know, probably. But, just to learn, that to me is my next, that's where I see myself in 6 months. When Food Lab opens, I'm like, okay, good. This is squared away. This is done. Next. Okay, how do we get to a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth? Might not happen, but it's fun to learn and to test the waters and see where it'll go.
See what's possible. Try.
Yeah. Somebody could walk up to me after the second one and be like, I'd like to buy these. And I'd be like, okay.
You're right.
Sure.
Great.
What's the price? So yeah, but the goal is just to keep growing.
Cool.
Yeah.
So today you're in Boulder on Pearl Street. You're opening up a location later here in 2025, August, September, Pearl Street in Denver. What type of classes are available to people? Where can people learn more about you and checking it out?
Yeah. We have the kids, so we have kids camps all summer, which are amazing. And then we call them public classes. It's like date night or go by yourself, bring a friend. And those, you just go online and you find the day that works. You go online and be like, oh, next Tuesday is Morocco. Let's go. And you just sign up online at foodlabboulder.com, and then, which we're going to change soon. And then we have a lot of corporate team building events. So we've got it's about a third of our revenue. Pretty equal.
Why do you think the corporate team building events work?
Well, from what I have heard from a lot of them, people like it. It's an even playing field for one. Like, these people come in and they're like, they get to all be somewhere that they're maybe not comfortable in. And not uncomfortable, but they're like, they're like, oh, I never cook, or all of a sudden I'm sitting here with my, somebody that I've only shared spreadsheets with, and now I'm being creative, and it's like a different level of working together.
Mm-hmm.
And then they all get to other, if you're going out to dinner or something, you're all sitting down. This, you're moving around, you're being, you're getting to kind of talk to everybody, and then you're getting to, again, like, share food that you all cook together, which that's what it all comes down to. And so, they are all sitting there being like, oh, we all cooked this, and taking pictures, and, like, sharing food, drinking some wine and beer, or
Fun.
some frescoes.
Fun. Yeah. Anything else you want to share? Anything else?
No, I think that was pretty thorough.
That was great.
Yeah, I like some of the stuff. I was like, I haven't even thought, like, it's pretty wild, because I don't think, like, something you would say, I would just be like, oh, I haven't thought about the Burger King and the fly. Like, yeah, I'm like, where'd that come from? It's cool.
Yeah, that was great.
I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.